All right, welcome everyone to our new podcast show called Stagged, a podcast of many things, but most importantly, speedrun related content will be spoken here. But we'll see how much of a speedrun content we can actually make. Either way, gaming related stuff, but mostly speedrun, as I said. In the first episode, since we're not going to be too far away, runner-wise, we are going to have a Finnish speedrunner who runs a whole lot of different games. And as far as I know, he doesn't really practice that much. He just goes into the runs pretty fast, but I could be wrong about this. But he plays the Is series, Yakuza. I don't know how many Yakuza games he plays. Some Mega Man games. I don't even know, some co-op games, Resident Evils, all sorts of different games. And he's, like I said, he's a Finn. I have known him for a few years, maybe more than that. But yeah, he's jphpue. Is that how you pronounce your name? Hello, welcome.
jphpue, but pretty close. You could just Finn the name, Yeah,
Finn.
As you are a Finn, yeah. But yeah, here I am, and I pretty much play those games and a whole lot of other stuff. And about the practice thing, I depending on the game, if I can finish the game without too much practice, then sure, I'll go in as quickly as possible. So that just means worse times in the beginning, but bigger PBs, and the big is what I like.
You do. So is that how you approach practice in general? Since I know you're working and everything. Let me hear about your practice methods. Like you work from like 8 to 4 or whatever, and then what do? You just go into practice mode immediately.
Pretty much like usually if the game allows, I'll just play through it, watch like the world record run or a tutorial, play through it once, and then just have the live split on the next full playthrough if possible.
Yeah.
If there are some difficult stuff, I might spend some time practicing. There have been some cases where I have had to spend a couple of hours on tricks that have been difficult but required for the run to be possible, or at least possible in a sense that I can complete it.
Right. Well, you just mentioned about tricks. What do you think is your most time-consuming trick you have you learned in a speedrun? And just you can also name the name of the game as well.
Yeah, I think as like if we go like a constant time on practicing one trick and then managing to do it, it must have been the old hover for Ease 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. It's a very rhythm related trick. It's not that strict, but it's not frame perfect or anything, but
right.
Getting it consistently for minutes or something was difficult, because I couldn't get even like one swap. What you do in that trick is basically you do an attack in the air and then swap character to the other one, and then during the swap, if you time your attacks correctly, you will do another set of attacks in the air, and you also gain height. If you do it too late or too early with the attacks, you fall down. Because normally, when you're in the air, you're supposed to do 3 attacks, and then the 4th attack brings you down. It's like a ground pound type of attack. So you do the 3 attacks, swap 3 attacks, swap 3 attack, and you try to constantly gain height with that. And you can also like endlessly hover with that. But keeping it up for very long was very hard. But nowadays you have a different method for hover. And yeah, but that's probably the trick I spent the most on. Then there are like sections I might have spent longer, but I wouldn't say those are necessarily tricks. But yeah. When it comes to tricks, I'm still pretty happy I got it. I got it like after multiple hours of attempts. And yeah, and after I got that, I just started the runs, and I don't think I got too badly stuck ever because of that.
Yeah.
Hover necessarily.
I was about to say that if that's something you actually get stuck all the time as well.
Yeah, there were a couple of resets because of that, but nothing. Like, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I was like, maybe I'll get burned out of the run because it's too difficult and I won't be getting it, like, ever. But, I ended up, that's the Ease game I've ran the most, so I think that didn't happen.
Yeah. So I'm usually stuck with tricks that are frame perfect. And of course, it depends the frames of your games. And usually we play games that are at like 59 or 60 FPS. So
Yeah.
you don't really have a lot of frames to work with in that sense. But do you have any games or speedruns where you have done frame perfect tricks, and any games where you have used multiple frame perfect tricks? I know, I know. Personally, I played Plaster Master for NES, the PAL version.
Yeah.
There's a section where you do like multiple frame perfect inputs in a row in order to reach the final area of the game. Have you done anything like that before?
I don't think I have. I think they're more lenient usually and more rhythm, but there's still like the leniency. So I don't think I haven't done that much retro gaming like you have though.
Yeah.
So it might be also that newer games don't necessarily have stuff like that as much. There probably is, and there are frame perfect tricks for sure, but I don't know if it's something that's more common with retro games. I definitely could be wrong, but that's how I feel, at least with my selection of games. Though,
Yeah, most likely is the truth. Yeah. That's going to be a really random question, but since Valentine's Day is almost upon us, I think tomorrow.
Yes,
am I mistaken?
it should be.
I'm correct. Yes.
No, I think it should be tomorrow. Yes.
All right. So this is a proper question for you, knowing how JP is. I don't know if this is your character or what, but tell me, what is your biggest video game crush?
Wow, that's an impossible question.
Come on. Even from your youth, just imagine, like, I don't know, 20 years ago.
I'm thinking like, oh my god, I can't come up with anything.
Lara Croft, you know, there's so many.
There are the easy ones, but I don't know if I could consider ever having crush on those. There must have been something. I'm pretty sure there must have been something, and it's probably something very stupid, because that's the way things are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I should just go with like Samus, because I'm not coming up with anything else. Because I loved Metroid Prime.
Oh yeah,
I
Prime.
freaking loved it. Yeah, that's my first Metroid game ever, and I loved it to death. And I remember getting it for my birthday or something, and I just played it endlessly, and I just got stuck on it constantly. But I still kept on playing still, and that's usually. If I enjoy a game, I don't mind getting stuck that much. But if I quit almost immediately, then I really wasn't enjoying it. So I don't know.
I assume you never played, or maybe you did play the original NES Metroid.
I've played the original. I've played Super Metroid. I've played all the 2D Metroids, I believe. But I played them later. I emulated them.
Right.
With. Well, after hearing about Metroid from Metroid Prime.
Were you aware that Samus was actually a girl?
No. I wasn't aware of anything. I wasn't aware of Metroid before Prime, and I was like... Well, I think I had they must be called Metroid. That's probably the name, but then I did the scanning. I read the scan thing, and I was like, oh, those are Metroids. And then I probably read like the back of the box, and like, Samus Aran. Oh.
I'm probably going to disappoint a lot of people right now when I say, you know, back in the day, obviously Lara Croft was a big thing because we didn't really have a lot of female, you know, characters in gaming in general. So I was like, wow, this could be a thing. You know, there could be so much potential for a female character. And then, of course, the freaking Star Fox Crystal came to the picture, and that was the biggest crush on ever for a little bit.
That makes sense, though. That makes sense. So I could have guessed Lara Croft as well, because I think watching your older Let's Play stuff, I think I picked up some Lara Croft enjoyment there. But yeah, okay, Crystal makes sense. Makes sense.
Well, not so much anymore, but you know, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. I mean, sure.
So, tell me about yourself in general. What do you stream? What do you play? What is your thing? We already kind of mentioned about the Ease series, but like just tell me about yourself in general.
Yeah, like quickly, Ease is probably one of the like bigger things I do. I have ran 11 Ease games so far. Pretty much like every numbered entry There are multiple versions of single games, so I haven't done all different versions. I think the first one is like Sega Master System, PC Engine. There's probably an NES version. There's Chronicles Plus DS.
Yeah.
I haven't done all of those. I've done like one version of it, and that's Chronicles Plus, the Steam version.
Right.
But yeah, I've done like multiple East games, and that's pretty much one of the things I'm known for. And Mighty Number 9 as well. And that's actually my first speedrun game ever, so you can come talk to me about Mighty Number 9 if you ever wish. For whatever reason.
I was going to ask that question later, like what is actually your...
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny story. Should I go on to it now, or do you want to keep on?
Oh, if you have anything to add to the previous question, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, pretty much just what and yeah, you mentioned Yakuza. I've done 3 Yakuza games to like boards, and then I've done one before they had their board done. So I've done 0, I've done Kiwami 2, which is a remake of Yakuza 2, I've done Yakuza 3, and I've also done Like a Dragon Gaiden, Man Who Erased His Name.
Oh yeah.
Because Yakuza changed their name to Like a Dragon like last year or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And that's probably like the series-wise what I've done. Then there's like a lot of random stuff. During April Fools, I've done, like last 2 years, I've done Asterix Slap Them All, 1 and 2. And those are wonderful video games. I've done some weird stuff like I am Metroid Other M and Disaster Day of Crisis. Those are Wii games. And at least the latter one has gained some excitement because it's silly. It's a silly game, but it's also kind of fun for what it's worth.
Yeah, I noticed recently I've been playing a lot of these not so well-known games. Obviously, I was aware of Metroid M when you started to run that game. Yeah. I never played it myself, but this Disaster game was something I've literally never heard of. But the run is just fun. Like it looks really fun to play. Where did you even hear about that game?
My dad got it for me I think it just came off from work, and he was like, hey, here's a game for you. This is used, and it costed like 10 euros, so grab it. And I was like, okay. And then I put it on my Wii, and was like, wow, this is actually kind of fun. But yeah, imagine, like, if I'm here to tell you that game is actually like a light gun shooter, how would you think about that? Like, if I'd say that it's a good speedrun, but it's a light gun shooter, how would you feel about it? Could you believe me?
I can't really answer that question because back in the day we played like Virtual Cop or something.
Oh yeah.
I think that was the game that I used to play. Obviously, on rails shooter, that kind of game. And it was fun. I just can't really think how much of a fun it would be these days. But the game looks really fun at least from a viewer's perspective here.
Yeah. And like duck hunts and whatever you could also argue are fitting into that category. But with Disaster, it's not just like the combat part is light gun shooter, but then there's also driving and some saving mini games and upgrading your weapons and movements and whatever. It becomes into this weird hodgepodge of a fun thing to play through. Plus the story is bonkers. The voice acting is awfully beautiful, and it's just an experience to go through those 2.5 hours. Yeah. I mean, if you haven't played it, I highly recommend it. Though I think it never released in the USA because was it like someone at Nintendo who said, this is a bad game, we ain't releasing this, period.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned about that.
Yeah, I think I've read about it, so I don't take it like without some grains of salt, but I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
But
So you did mention your first speedrun, right?
Yeah, Mighty Number 9.
Really? It's just,
yes.
I can't get over that. That was your first speedrun ever. Really?
Guess when I did the first run. Don't look at Speedrun God.
Well, I can't even use my PC right now, but
good. No cheating.
I would say like 3 years ago.
3 years ago. What if I told you 2017?
that's pretty much where I started, 2016, I think. So, yeah.
I think I saw like ESAs and Games Done Quicks, and then you're like the Mega Man. I'm not sure if it was Mega Man 2, but at least I saw like one video of you where you did the Lords of Shadow 2.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever saw your face, by the way.
The Castlevania. That was one of the games that, by the way, it's the only game to this day that I finished the game and then I started to play it again in the sense of speedrunning without knowing any strats. I still don't know any strats about the game because I didn't know the game even were speedrun by anyone else. So I just did everything myself, routing, all the weapon swapping, all the optimized weapons, if you can call that optimized in any level. But that's actually pretty fun. Just optimizing stuff. But I just never really thought that would have been your first game.
But yeah, that was pretty impressive. For going, the routing part is definitely always impressive, and it's not saying that running isn't impressive, even if you watch someone else's run, but like routing is something. I tip my hat to those who actually route video games.
Do you like it?
Video game speedruns. I don't like it. I'm very horrible at it, but I just approve of people doing it. I just think they're doing an awesome job. And
so you're more of a speedrunner, not a router.
Yeah. I'm more of a guy who looks at the tutorial or So that's how I do. But yeah, 2017 was my first speedrun, and I did one run, I think, and then I went on a 2-year hiatus.
Really? Such a long break. Yeah. Is there a reason?
Then I don't know. I think what happened was that I did one run of Mighty Number 9. I was like, I could try some other game, and I tried to pick up E's Oath in Felghana. And I couldn't beat it. It was too impossible. I just couldn't get past some tricks, and I gave up very quickly. And then I just speedrun dead. And 2 years later, I think I did 1 or 2 runs of Mighty Number 9 again. Then I picked up Oath in Felghana. I couldn't beat it. I dropped it. I think I got like 1 room further than before. And then I was just like, no. And when I actually started speedrunning, I think it was 21. When my friend Kodo Hunter was like Discording me, he was like, there's this guy who's planning to run Crash Bandicoot 1, the Insane Trilogy, the remake version, using a controller made of mango. And he's trying to get a sub-hour time. ... We can do that. We can do that like with a regular controller, of course, but we can do it. And then we started doing like these relay tag team runs. Like we picked our stages and then we swapped the controller around. Pretty much just like every other stage was mine and every other stage was his. So there was some we swapped, like I don't like these bridge stages, and I got them, and I didn't like the big riding stage, so Kodo got that one. So we did that for a little bit. Then I don't know if it took like a month or so, and I was like, I could try running this solo, like the full game. And I did some Crash Bandicoots. One for I don't know how long, but then I was like, I remember like distinctly speedrunning something else. What was that game? Oh yeah, Mighty Number 9. Let's see how that goes. I tried that. I went back to Crash. I learned Mega Man 11 after that, and that's how it started. And now I have like 50 games or whatever learned so far. I think 51 different categories at least.
Oh, damn. Do you still run Mighty Number 9?
Yeah, I plan to get sub 30 IGT at some point, and I've had tutorial of it on the works, and I've lacked the final stage, and then of course editing and such. But I have footage for rest of the game. And I definitely plan to get back on it, and there's that one final goal. If I get that sub 30, then I'm just like, this is what I have to give. Because before I entered the scene, I think the last world record was 4 or 6 years old. And then it took me like a year or something to like swapping back and forth between games. Yep. And then one stream I got it, and I think it was like 4 years old when I finally did beat that time world record. I think it was 31:58 in game time, or 59, and now it's 30:28, I think. sub 30 is definitely possible. So that's what I like. That feels like the final milestone, the final frontier, the final whatever.
Right.
And if that gets beaten, then I'm done. I'm done for good. But I still think that Mighty Number 9 has gotten a lot of flack. It's not that bad of a game. It's not the best game, but it's still mighty fine speedrun, and I might drop it like trying to get a new PB, but I think that if no one else was up for it, I would show it in events or try to get it in some events to show it off, because it's still decent fun. And once you know the BS stuff, it's a fine game casually as well.
I remember seeing a lot of clips of you playing the game. Like, the game is there's a lot of weird jankiness and weird glitches in the game still, which haven't been patched, but it's good to see that you're still passionate to play a game like that, which doesn't really have a lot of runners, but like JP mentioned, the game is actually amazing speed game. I don't really care about the game that much casually, to be completely honest, but I've seen that speedrun is actually really awesome in the game.
Yeah. It's one of those games that if it goes right, it feels super rewarding and super awesome, and it doesn't look half bad either, because it's very speedy. Even though you have some gauntlet sections, but those are also dispatched very quickly if you know what you're doing. So even those don't look as bad, and they might look even pretty good if you get them properly done.
Yeah.
And there's also there's an easy invincibility glitch, and I think I've heard it's been compared to something that is in Mega Man X6, where you basically just prevent an action from happening, that during the action you have like invulnerability flames, invul frames, iframes, and you prevent that from completing, so you keep the iframes for as long as you don't interrupt or do something that also reactivates the iframes or whatever. So
yeah,
it's very easy. It could sound to someone who's not that knowledgeable of speedrunning or haven't tried that type of a game, could seem difficult, but it's actually surprisingly easy, and it can make a lot of the game very easy to play. And then there's also the less easy ones, but very like rewarding ones, where you skip boss battles, like you skip like their desperation moves, which are like these attacks that they do when they reach certain health threshold, and they do this different attack which can either insta-kill you or deal huge amounts of hurt. But yeah, you can skip some of those, and some of those are easier and some of those are harder, and some of those I have no idea how they work, but just try getting it somehow. I think this might be it, or whatever.
So you mentioned that you kind of go back and forth between these games. Like, what is the reason that you want to go back to speedrunning a specific game?
Yeah. Nowadays, I don't think I go that much back. Mighty Number 9 might be some of them that I would go back, and if I go back to a speed game, if it's not East Title, then it's probably because I'm running it in a marathon. With Ease, it's either that or I haven't learned it properly. I'd say I've learned 3 Ease games. I've done 8, I've done Oath, and I have done 2. And the rest I haven't properly touched. 9. I actually add 9 to that list because I played that for pretty long. But other reason I would come back to an East title is actually what I'm doing right now, is preparing for a series marathon, where I play through 11 games back to back, all the East titles, starting from East Origin, quote-unquote East Zero, you could say, and then ending it on the final East title. Last time I did it a couple of years ago, I think, and it was Origin through 9, but now Eastern Nordics arrived to us mortals from the land of East last year, so now it's gonna be Origin through 10, and that's gonna add a couple of hours to the run, but at the same time, I have improved my times from the last marathon, so it isn't complete 2 hours of increment there, hopefully.
Wow, look at you improving all the time, JP.
Yeah, and actually for East titles, I'm a nerd. I have an Excel for that. Like I have all my ease times there, and I have this pie chart of how much I've spent running the games and such. I don't think I've shown it to you, or maybe I have.
I don't think so. But that's actually a really cool thing because we all have our main games or main series we play, so that's understandable.
Yeah.
Well, this next question is kind of weird because kind of related to this, but for me, what makes a really good speed game is movement. Like it's really important to me that the game runs fast and there are some cool tricks you can pull off. I don't really care about like glitchless or something like straightforward where you just complete the game without doing any specific tricks, which is still fine, completely fine. Don't get me wrong. It's just obviously that's more execution heavy in just playing the game without worrying about tricks. But tell me, what makes a good speedrunning game, and what does it need to have in order to catch your attention?
Well, I don't say if it's necessary, but nostalgia or some kind of I love this game kind of feel is definitely there. That has to be there. And also same, if it has good music, I will definitely rank it higher.
Oh yeah.
Because you're going to be playing a lot of that game, and if the music sucks, if it's good, then you're just going to be bopping through some sections like... for example, I definitely love Yakuza series, like the OST, and I remember when I was grinding the Kiwami 2, I was like, always, at the same time, I was like nervous about the final act, because it was this long fight to then beat the final bosses, and there was like a big fight you'd run through the Kamurocho.
Yeah.
And I was always like, I felt nervous, because... yeah, on a pace, even smallest mistake can eat your PB, and that's it. But at the same time, I was like hyped because the song in that section is so damn good. I mean, I was just popping my way through and then probably missing some attacks because I was just having too much fun.
that is a really good point, though. I didn't even think about music, but yeah, that's a really common reason as well. When I think about it, it's just if the game has really awesome music, you just enjoy running it more and more.
Yeah, that's probably more about just the repetition part. But when it comes to like you said, movement, and I agree with that. Movement is important, but at the same time, I don't think I find it as important. I wouldn't be running some games I do if movement was like very important, like extra, like the only thing, or like extra important or whatever. Or the movement can be of a different type. It doesn't have to necessarily have like a dash or like a very very speedy movements. It can also be accurate movements. Like I think in Yakuza games you don't have that much speed, but the movement is extremely important because you have to run like in certain paths, and you have to sometimes switch your paths if there are bad enemy spawns or whatever. Like the movement is key, but in like a different set of feel. Like if you can understand, like with Mighty Number 9s and Mega Mans, it's like a slide and adding those and doing weapon attacks that increase your speed or give you more longer jumps or whatever.
Yeah.
But there it's more about just running through at like the optimal angles, and it almost feels like a racing game at some.
I haven't thought about like in that angle, or just having the thought of precise movement. But that's a good point as well. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking just also I love doing marathon runs. So if I feel like this game is something that most people haven't seen, or it could have some awesome glitches or whatever, that's also a big point that I might want to learn it. If there's some meme value like Disaster had, awesome. That's also one kind of makes me choose my games at some points. I'm like, could I show this off? Could this have something cool? And I don't know. Sometimes I run games for myself, and I think mostly I picked something that I want to show because it's either very hidden or it's just cool to me.
Disaster certainly didn't have a whole lot of movement per se, because it's
it has your wrist movement when you're doing the light gun pass though.
Yeah.
So you're moving.
But it's a fun game either way, so it doesn't have to have a specific movement there. So let's just pretend that you're playing some random game casually. A game you have no intention for speedrunning, like absolutely no intention at all. But suddenly, out of nowhere, you discover some amazing speed tech, or maybe some wild skip that saves so much time in the game. You don't even realize it's probably like an entire level worth of time save. Like, is that something that would actually change your mind about speedrunning the game or not?
Would very highly depend on the game. If it feels like a speedrunning game, then probably might be like, I might actually think about this, like if I can apply this in some other place or whatever. But if I would feel the game is speedrun worthy, or a game that I would like to speedrun, then sure, I would probably start thinking that, maybe I should do it after.
Yeah.
If the game was ass, I'd be like, oh god, yes, I skipped something.
Right.
Like afterwards, like, oh, I skipped something. Oh, thank God, thank you. But yeah, I think I haven't found glitches like that too much. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm the same. There was the new Prey game. I'm not sure if you played it. The speedrun of that game, what I saw in HGQ, for example, or was it HGD or whatever, it had so ridiculous amount of glitches and tricks, out of bounds tricks. I actually found a few of them myself, which obviously probably were found already by the community by themselves. But I seriously thought about speedrunning the game because I found them out. But it never became a thing because, you know, I'm usually focused on retro stuff, and I was like, maybe not.
You dabbled into more recent titles as well, so maybe you'll one day go back to it. Who knows?
Maybe. But does it matter to you, by the way, if game is retro or modern when it comes to speedrunning?
Not really. I mean, I don't play that much retro games, but even the ones I do have, like, maybe this could be speedrun. Like, I would still, to me, because I'm a youngin', Mega Man Legends is a retro game, and I would love to run the second one, for sure. The issue is that it's kind of expensive.
It is quite expensive, yes.
I think, and even after that, I would have to get a way to record my PS2 then, because I only have a PS1, and I think that's already a lot slower. Though I would just do it. I wouldn't just have to. I wouldn't have to care about the time that much. I would just do it for fun, probably.
Yeah.
Because there's probably a lot of good Mega Man Legends runners who have shown the game off that I wouldn't probably feel as much need to take it.
Well, of course, everyone views retro stuff differently because depending of your age, you know, PlayStation could be retro for you. PS4 could be retro for you at this point. No. I don't know, but yeah.
It feels like retro is like categorized for like even PlayStation 2 and stuff in stores, like gaming stores at least here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's already considered retro, and I am definitely not feeling it because the GameCube was my childhood, but it feels like it has to be like a little bit before that.
Yeah.
And I owned an NES and Genesis, or what's that called in
Mega
Europe?
Drive.
Mega Drive, yeah, I had a Mega Drive as well. Those were my childhood, and some DOS PC gaming.
Yeah.
I remember playing like Blues Brothers and whatnot on that old weird laptop that had the butterfly keyboard with or whatever. I don't know if you remember those, but it had this. It's stacked very weirdly when you close the lid.
Unfortunately, I do.
Pad.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one of those, and I played Jazz Jackrabbits and whatnot on that. Wacky Wheels, that bunch. One I remember enjoying. We had the shareware, and it was awesome.
Also Mario Kart clone right there.
Yeah.
Well, for me as well, DOS has been a huge retro stuff back in the day. I played so many DOS games. That was actually the point of my gaming career when we had NES, but the moment we got our old PC, I kind of leaned towards that more than NES, which is kind of ridiculous. I I never thought I would be a PC gamer, but man, the games were so good on DOS that I just had to play them. But yeah, my first console, if you can call it console, is a Pong console, ping pong console.
Oh, you're one of
super
you're that
retro.
old.
Yeah, I know that's my parents owned one, and that was like the first video game experience for me to play a Pong. It was so stupid, but everyone enjoyed apparently. And then after that, it was a NES, and the rest is history.
You didn't get like Atari 2600 or whatever those are. I don't know, how did they have those in Finland that much?
I don't. Well, I remember one of my friends having. So yeah, they were here.
Yeah.
It's just I don't think Atari did so well outside of you. Well, at least not in Finland, but.
Also, one of like earlier gaming memories, I think we had like I'm not sure if it was MSX or MSX2 or whatever, but one of those console PC, whatever those were. Yeah. But I remember playing that Antarctic Adventure Penguin game with my family because my mother doesn't play video games that much, but that game she was like addicted on, and we were like playing it as a family, swapping the controller around. I just remember that's like one of my earlier gaming memories, but that game, oh yeah, that game stuck to me. Like I think I found it like 15 years later, and I was like, I remember this game, but I don't remember what it was called. I asked my parents, they didn't know, and then I did a 1-hour Googling session and found it.
I had two similar games in my head, one which I remember from my childhood. The other one was NES Shatterhand. I only remembered playing this guy who just killed everything with his fists. That was one of the games one of my friends used to own, and I played at his place like a couple of times. And that was the only thing I remembered about the game. Just use fists. That actually, if you just remember that detail of one game, NES game specifically, which has plenty of games with, you just punch people.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff to go through until I found, a Shatterhand. And then another one from Commodore 64, some kind of a Dragon Warrior. I don't even remember the name right now, but it was an auto-scroller shoot-'em-up game. And I just remember the music being super awesome, and the bosses being huge and intense, and freaking battles, and oh my god, it was so good.
That's kind of nice.
Oh god, that was such a. You do remember some of these games from your childhood, just can't remember the names.
Yeah, that's what happens.
English names.
Yeah, and then you get pissed off and you have to spend the afternoon Googling it.
If that's even enough for it, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I would have been like, I remember this game where I was using my fists to destroy things on NES. Maybe it was called Fistman. I don't know.
I wish it would have been. That would have been easy to find.
Yeah.
So, you did mention emulators, right?
Yes.
What do you feel about emulators versus original hardware?
Well, emulators definitely have that edge when it comes to the real hardware, that you don't have to necessarily have that much money or have a perfect condition thing to use it, and you can use it on different like PCs, phones, whatever, and the games are like you can get access to games that could be lost otherwise. When it comes to speedrunning, I'd prefer always having the real hardware compared to emulator. Not necessarily, but I don't know if I would notice the lag, like the input lag. Like everyone who plays a lot of retro games, like I think you have also said that there's a lot of input lag with emulators. Yeah. That was like one of the things with Mega Man 4 Voyage for you, I believe.
Yes.
So I don't know if I'd notice that, but I just prefer not having to work with emulator rules. And I've done 2 emulated games. I've done Rayman 3 on Game Boy Advance, and then I did Ys 5 for a little bit. And I didn't know about emulators, so I got like I did some runs, and then I got contacted by one of the admins, and they were like, "Yeah, you actually this emulator is bad. It's bad. It's very bad. You shouldn't use it." And I'm like, "Oh, I've used it since I was a little kid." and I swapped emulators and everything was fine, so I could keep on running.
Yeah.
But then I actually bought Super Famicom and the game for it, and now I run using real hardware because
Man, the leaderboards thing is something I wouldn't care about either. But yes, some emulators does emulate more accurately, which makes sense. You know, there's no complaint about that. But obviously, like you said, owning a real hardware does skip this entire stress of following the rules of leaderboards and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned about input lag. That is something I find super annoying because I started off with an emulator to play Mega Man 2. That was my first speed game ever, and I didn't feel it back then because I didn't have anything to compare against. Which until later I bought my Famicoms and everything, all the consoles I have right now. But the moment I swapped into real hardware from Mega Man 2, like emulating it, it was just night and day. Like everything was so much better, so much more responsive. And my personal bests became way better all the time. Every month I was pushing out more and more PBs because of it. But then I think it was like Mega Man 4 or something, because I didn't have EverDrive back then, to play games on real hardware.
Yeah.
I just had the cartridge. So I went back to Mega Man 4, or started to learn Mega Man 4 as my next speed game, and back to emulator, and my god. Again, input lag. It's just so bad. That's the thing. If you go back and forth between emulator and a real hardware, that's when you see it. That's the worst thing in retro gaming, especially if you care about input lag. But then again, there's top runners who have basically never used a real hardware, and they will probably never use. And that's completely fine if you're used to it, and you will get used to.
You will get used to it. Yeah.
Absolutely, for input lag, and that's just how it is. Do you own any cartridges, by the way?
Ace 5, I bought that as a cartridge. That's the only Famicom game I have. And then I have lots of NES games, like I have like the European Contra, also known as Protectors and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
I have a lot of NES games. But yeah, probably for speedrunning purposes, the only one I have ever used is the Ace 5 cartridge that I actually bought, I think last year.
Oh, yeah. Would you consider getting EverDrive ever?
Maybe. I was thinking about maybe the card is a little bit busted because it gives a weird artifacting and whatnot during some parts, but I also had those same on emulators, so it might be the game actually. Therefore, I don't think an EverDrive would help.
Right.
But I don't know. I definitely don't know too much. Ace 5 is probably one of my weakest titles. Mostly because the game itself is kinda meh, but at the same time because it was on emulator and I just wasn't too into it.
Yeah. Well, for people who don't know what EverDrive is, it's basically a cartridge which you can use on your real hardware, and you will put in an SD card full of ROMs, and you can play all your games from your real hardware with just using that one card. They're pretty efficient little toys, pretty expensive as well, but most speedrunners just use them for everything, including practice.
Yeah, if you run a lot of retro games, it would probably break your bank if you started getting all the cartridges for all the games you want. And since that's considered still using the original hardware and whatnot, so it's pretty handy for sure.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about emulating because that's not what it's doing. You're still playing it from the original hardware. It's just you have the ROMs inside your card.
Yeah. And you don't have to wait for 5 weeks to get your game. You can just start playing immediately, and you can switch between Mega Man 1 and 6 and whatever.
And like you said, the prices of some cartridges are just ridiculously expensive. Like the Gimmick, for example. Once again, we use Gimmick, the NES Gimmick, as one of the most expensive NES titles, for example. Kind of funny, I mentioned Shatterhand just a moment ago. The US version of Shatterhand it's not cheap, but it's around there, it's pretty cheap card. But the Japanese version, which is the Soul Brain, whatever, apparently it's based on some kind of a show in Japan.
Ooh.
That card is really expensive. I have no idea. I really wanted to get the card, or a real card from Japan, but I compared the price and was like, no, I can't do this.
Damn. That's sad.
Yeah, but that's how it is with games. And for me especially, I don't want to collect games. I want to own the games to play the games. That's how do you say this yourself?
Yeah, same mostly. I probably have only one game that I have never opened from its seal, and that's the PS5 version of the freaking King Kong game that came out 2 years ago.
Oh.
I bought it as a meme. I didn't even intend to play it. I still have it wrapped in seals because I just had to get it because it's so horrible. I don't know if you've ever seen it. If you haven't, you should look at the YouTube trailer for it or whatever. But otherwise, yes, I buy to play my games. Even though my Steam library is like 800 games and I've touched probably half of them, I buy to play them at some point.
Mom, you're going to be a millionaire just keeping that sealed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, kind of related to that, but when you play these games, whether it's an emulator or real hardware, do you prefer using some weird controller, or just do you play everything with keyboard? Like, does it matter to you what kind of a controller you're using to play the game?
Controller matters probably more if you're thinking about speedrunning, because it is it's a sport where controller is your tool and you need to use it. I need to get used to it, and then if you swap your controller using a different tool and it feels weird and wrong, I used to have like 2 different controllers. I used to like a DualShock 4 for speedrunning, and then Xbox Series X controller for casual gaming. So I had that mental state of I was playing casually when I was holding Xbox controller.
Yeah.
I don't have that anymore, but I used to have that. To me, I think it's more genre related what I use when it comes to keyboard and mouse versus controller, though. Like FPS games and what point and clicks and stuff, yeah, I'm gonna be using mouse and keyboard. And then like action games, 3D platformers, whatnot, it's mostly gonna be controller.
Yeah.
But yeah, nowadays I have my 8-bit doo-doo, and I have Xbox controller and PS4 controller and lots of different controllers. I use the 8-bit doo-doo mostly for speedrunning, but it's having some issues trying to stay connected for whatever reason, so I might have to get a replacement.
Yeah.
Sadly.
That's a bit sad. I have the same controller. I haven't had any issues with that, but
otherwise, it feels like a very good controller. Otherwise, I like the feel, and I like the buttons, and I like the bumpers. The bumpers are something I didn't like that much in Xbox Series X controller. Yeah. I could definitely feel the bumpers being weird during Mighty No. 9 runs. So, to me, I just needed to either get a PS4 or 5 controller or the 8-bit do. But the PS5 controller just doesn't sit in my hands very well. It just breaks my wrists or something. So I don't really like using it too much. But it's casual, I think it's fine, but maybe I'm squishing it weird when I'm running or something. But
yeah, well, you have a point. I mean, it's a huge controller. I have big hands, so PS5 controller felt really good for me, even though it was for some reason rubbing my like right middle finger, and it was just hurting it really bad when I was playing Mega Man 11. Even on real hardware, let's talk about NES or Super Famicom. You can attach some wild controllers into them. Like, it doesn't have to be the official controller. So have you ever used something completely weird? Drums or anything?
On my GameCube, yes. I've used Guitar Hero controller on some games. I've used... I don't know if it's gotten any weirder than that. I had like a drum set connector for the PS3 with... when Rock Band 3 or something came out that allowed you to use like drums. Like real electrical drums to play it. I had that. I don't know if I ever played anything with it.
Yeah.
I should have played like a Ratchet and Clank game with that, but I don't think I did. But Guitar Hero controller I have definitely used for a lot of stuff.
The weirdest controller I ever used was when someone recommended me to use a dance pad for Mega Man 11.
Ooh, that's actually not bad.
So I used my controller, which back in the day I thought I didn't have enough buttons for it, for all the map buttons you need for 11, because there's so many different buttons you need in the run. And then someone suggested, hey, go for the dance pad. And I was just changing weapons by using my feet back and forth.
I mean, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. Some games could be much more fun if you had, like, you used dance mat for something, then you would have, like, a guitar controller or whatnot. You could make some very weird experiences with.
Yeah, but once again, so much easier with the keyboard. But my preference is always if I use or play some kind of a side-scrolling game, platformer game, it's going to always be a controller. Like I just cannot see keyboard as a method of playing the game. I just can't. So I was forcing myself to use all these weird tools just to go around the fact that I don't want to use a keyboard, even though I still know that it would be the most effective tool to play Mega Man 11.
Did you ever play any DDR if you had the dance mat then? Did we?
Funny thing is, that's the Wii DDR dance pad. So yes, I did.
Nice. How did you enjoy that?
The little I did, yeah. But never in a million years I would have thought that was something I would have been using in a speedrun.
Weirdest things happen.
Yeah, but that was also the reason why. Like I said, 11 is so complicated game with all the inputs, and that was the reason why I had to stop learning the game for quite a bit of time, because it just took so much time to learn everything. Have you ever stopped running or learning a game yourself that you originally planned to run? And what was the reason behind it? Hopefully nothing like my reason there.
Like I said, originally I stopped Oath in Felghana twice because I found it too difficult to get past some rooms. After that, I think I started Uncharted 1 at some point, and then I just got bored with it, and I didn't care about going through with it. I've been trying to get into some Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge with Momji, because why use Ryu? But that's something I tried, I stopped, but I've been meaning to get back to it. I just stopped it because I had a lot of other plans going forward. And the couple of times I've had like two caves I've been running, and then I've just chosen the other one to continue while the other one gets left in the dust. Kind of what happened when I was doing Yakuza Kiwami 2 and Mega Man 10 with Proto Man. I just went with Yakuza, and Proto Man got got ditched a little bit, sadly there.
Away.
Yeah, and probably some other, but for now I don't remember too many. But probably the bigger ones are Oath and Uncharted 1.
Yeah. Oh, you even played that. Wow. Been playing everything. What a guy.
Yeah. A lot of games, little time. And I have more than enough plans already for the rest of the year and whatnot. Plenty of games and too little time.
That's actually good that you mentioned it. Even though we kind of talked about this earlier, but have you ever played a game that literally has like 0 or perhaps just one runner? And if so, how does the whole learning process go in a game like this? Like, just tell me about it. How do you learn the run? Do you just force yourself? Because you said you're not a router, right?
Yeah. Asterisk Slap 'em all didn't have the boards, and I was the one who asked the mods to do it. And that I never learned. I pressed stream button, and then I opened the game and played the game and called it speedrunning because there were splits.
Wow.
Instant world record. Wow, and no one's ever beat them. So if you want the free world record, go do some slap 'em all. We deserve better slaps for them all.
Yep.
And then, do you remember this little game called Prototroid?
I do.
Yeah, you did it like, I think you did like a little showcase, or what would you call it?
Yeah.
On a stream, and I was like, this looks pretty fine. And I think it was like coming the day after that stream, and I bought it, played through it, and then did a run of it. And I'm actually the moderator for it. I was the one who pitched it in speedrun.com.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say I think like I did couple of attempts on that glitchless at first, because I didn't know any glitches in it yet. I knew it was broken game, but I couldn't pull off anything helpful. And then just figuring out how to go as fast as possible. It was rough. I didn't really get very good at it. I just did a couple of attempts and then I just kind of forgot about it and moved on to the next game.
Right.
And then one other person, one indie runner who I haven't seen a while, Song of Soil, picked it up and he just destroyed my PB. And then he found glitches. And then I asked him to like if we could film them and like immortalize them on YouTube or anything, so if anyone wants to try them they could, but we didn't get to do it. I think he swapped games as well, and the Twitch VODs had already been destroyed. I think they were up like 2 weeks. I don't know how long they are nowadays, but there wasn't any video proof of how to do the tricks. I remembered like approximate like almost how to do them, like a little bit. I knew the idea of how to do certain tricks, but
Yeah.
I didn't fully know them. And I think last year, or I think it was last year maybe, like early last year, I just picked up the game and was like, now I'm gonna do it, now I'm gonna learn it again. And then I remembered how to do the glitches, and I did new categories for it, for glitched and New Game Plus glitched.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I beat Soil's time on New Game Plus or the glitched one, but they are now immortalized. They are now there, and if anyone wants to learn them, they have YouTube videos for it, and they have my runs for it with input display. So I'm kind of happy at least that happened. So when it comes to like the full learning process, it was before anyone else had done it, it was kind of excruciating for me. I feel like I couldn't do very well, and it just didn't feel as fun as it could be. But then when someone else had done some legwork, I just changed some things. I found different ways to use the tricks found by someone to deal with the game in a way that felt good for me, and I don't think I remember at all what they did in their runs.
And you were doing 80%, obviously, right?
Yeah, any percent. And the way that game has, the trick it has is like an airwalk. You use 2 different skills and you are stuck in the air. Like if you jump and do an attack and dash at the same time, you are stuck at that height. The game considers you grounded, but you're in the air. If you take a hit, you fall down, and then you will have to do the trick again to be able to walk in the air. But you can't like decrease or increase your height without like some weird angles. So you have to find these slopes to increase your height. Right. So if you have to go higher, you have to look at the stage geometry and walk into it. And the more speed you have, the more height you gain. And you can go over. You can go too high, because that game has like stages and they end on a teleporter. If you get too high, the teleporter won't like trigger, so you can't end the stage. So you have to be at the proper height to actually activate it.
Right.
So yeah, you have to be careful and know what you're doing. And yeah, learning those was like coming up with different routes to do, like where to get height and how much height was like okayishly fun for me, but like coming up with the entire run, no.
Yeah.
Same with Mighty Number 9 actually. I did like going a little bit off topic here, but with that I don't think I came up with too much new stuff. The only thing I'm not sure if anyone had done before me was like one different way to get a quick kill on the final boss's first phase.
Right.
And that I got that when I found it out, I got it a lot more consistently. It was like before I could get it 1 out of 20 attempts, and then I would get it like 1 out of 5. So it was a huge increase in consistency, and it's not that much groundbreaking. And probably if you know the first one, it might be a little bit faster, but you save quite a lot of time still if you go at the quick kill. So I would rather take that 1 second loss there than take the 10 to 20 seconds or whatever it takes if you fail it.
Yeah. That was one of the games. The developer gave me the chance to not only play the game, gave me the key for it, but they also paid me money, which is I'm super grateful for, like just to promote the game. I kind of feel bad that I didn't play as much as you did though, because it has some really cool speed deck as well, which I really enjoyed. So that's a cool game.
You could say that dashing works. I think it works like an X game where you press the button and you get the speed, and if you want to keep on dashing, you can like jump and then like jump out of the dash. If you don't jump out of the dash, your momentum stops for a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's like that in X games. I don't remember too much. I've played through all of the X games, but I don't remember them that well.
Dash and keep momentum basically, at least for one
it felt
jump.
Like same. Yeah. It felt like that pretty much,
Yeah.
but it was like, I think some people called it the X7 but good game.
That's what I keep hearing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, but it's still, it's still decent game. It's also like casually, I don't think it was like superb or anything. It was okay. It was like harmless. But at the same time, it felt like it needed something. So it was a game I was kind of hoping would get a sequel where a lot of the things would improve. And that could be like a very good game. But it, like, I mean no ill with this, but it just was a kind of mediocre. But the speedrun made it okay-ish. It's kind of fun. I wish just more people would run it maybe, but it's a game. Someday I might have to take it to a marathon and show it off. Maybe someone gets interested by it, but I don't definitely blame people not rushing into it because it ain't exactly super popular, and it's kind of very hidden indie game.
Yeah, it really is. Oh, there's a sound cue for the next small event happening right now. I'll give you a couple of minutes to breathe. Catch your breath, JP, because you know why. It is time for...
And now it's time for Deep Thoughts with Ahmad.
Oh, she already said it. Well, damn you, voice in my head. Gotta edit that. Anyways, so this is a segment where we're not talking about JP for a moment. JP has a lot of things to be said still, but we're going to add this to every single podcast where I'm going to pick a single clip from my own stream. And people, by the way, they clip a lot of things from my stream, but this is one of the dumbest things I've said in a while. And I do say a lot of dumb things on my stream all the time. It's one of those you speak faster than your brain is able to think. Or maybe it's a translation issue. Who knows? You know, English is not my native language, so sometimes these slips happens. But this is from my 1 through 11 practice like a month ago, I think. We're currently in February, so this would be January 2025 when I was practicing for my 1 through 11 speedrun, which is all classic Mega Man games back to back. And I said this. Is this dick like smaller? So that was completely off context. I don't know if you guys actually heard that. I need to probably enhance the audio a bit. But I was meant to say, is this stick smaller? Because I was playing with what JP just mentioned, the 8-bit controller, the same controller what he uses. And the sticks are actually smaller than in my PS5 controller, which I use to play the game. Or PS4, which also has bigger sticks, or the joysticks, than the 8-bit. So instead of saying, sticks, for some reason I said dicks. And that's just how brain works sometimes. And translation is lost. I don't even know. It's just one of these slips that happens all the time. And yeah, that's a common thing that happens on my stream. Happens on JB stream all the time. Just go and watch him as well. Anyways, now that that's over and done with, I don't have to explain of my own experiences any more than that. Tell me, JP, do you prefer the straightforward approaches of any percent, or have you ever considered running 100% on a speedrun? And what is the most bizarre category you have ever run, if any?
Any percent is usually where I stick my guns with. 100% generally doesn't interest me as much. Though there are situations where the any percent is kinda meh and I want something more. I'd say 100%, probably if I would ever do a game that would be 100%, that probably would be like something like Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
I mean, that just feels right for that game. So if I would ever do 100%, I'd definitely pick that game, but probably not. I'm probably never gonna be doing a 100% on any game.
Well, we're just gonna mention about the current X8 16-bit demake. The 100% and percent difference is like 20 seconds currently. Like it's really small because you don't have any revisits in the stages, so you can just grab all the necessary pieces for 100%. So that's obviously something that I personally like. Just go for the 100%. What's the point of any percent anymore? It just makes the game so much easier either way. So
yeah. That's definitely a different point, because usually 100% means a lot longer than any percent.
More stuff.
So yeah, but also you also did X4, right? So if I remember correctly, 100% might have been faster in that than any. I could be wrong though.
I can't remember, but the difference was pretty small as well there.
Yeah. It's definitely not like groundbreaking. It's like a minute or like a couple maybe at maximum. But it's definitely not difference between any percents in Yakuza games versus 100. Never do Yakuza 100 unless you're crazy.
Or Final Fantasies.
Or Final Fantasy, yeah. Yeah, don't do Final Fantasy 100% unless you're fully prepared.
I wonder if anyone even knows what 100% Final Fantasy games are. They could be anything. Like, do you have to level up your character all the way to hungry? I don't know.
There's probably some rules, and
yeah,
makes kind of sense. But weirdest categories, like normally, like I said, it's usually just any percent. So the few games that have some extra appendages to them, or at least one game, is Nioh 2, which I did a couple of years back, I think. It had any percent glitchless featherless, which is kind of... I mean, the feather thing is like these items you use, and if you use them properly, they deal like incredible damage to bosses, and you can skip them kind of fast. I don't know if it's a glitch, but apparently it's still been like distinguished enough, so it isn't a glitch. And glitchless itself is kind of self-explanatory. Though it has some very glitchy stuff you can do, I don't think I really did any of them, because they were like, they're gonna save like a couple of seconds and they're kind of risky sometimes, so I didn't do that many of them.
Yeah.
And the other quote-unquote weird is all story bosses for Ys 8, because Ys 8's any percent is less than 10 minutes or 10 minutes or something. I think like with Turbo it's 5 minutes. And I just found that super boring. I wanted a little bit more. So all story bosses is where you just beat every story related boss, other than the extra final super maximum mega boss, which isn't super mega maximum, it's just a final boss. But I think the requirements for it are so annoying that the community just decided on that. It doesn't need to be slain.
Yeah.
So the run stays much more fun, which I can approve of. Even though I can also understand the reasoning that is this really all story bosses if you leave that one out. I'm not gonna say any names if anyone's ever gonna play that game, but just there's the true ending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that still, I'd say they did the right choice of just skipping it and leaving, because now that takes like an hour and 10 minutes or something if you're very good at the world record level.
Okay.
So it's much more beefy and it has a lot more movement. It has you break the game in so beautiful way where, well, the basic gist is that there's two timelines. You have like the past and the current day where Adol is, and you take the hero party from the past and you bring it to the present and you use them for a little bit.
Yeah.
With lots of glitches and stuff. It's like a neat party trick, and that's also a game I kind of want to show around in marathons. Like, I'm probably gonna submit it to something, and
Oh, cool.
I've actually shown it in some places already.
Yeah.
But like the weirdest categories: glitchless, featherless, any percent in Neo 2, and all story bosses in Ys 8. I don't think there are any other. I've seen a lot of different weird categories, but that's what I've done.
Oh yeah, there are plenty of different categories. And,
Yeah.
that's also a beauty of speedrunning. There's a lot of people who absolutely hate glitches. They don't like to see. They don't like to perform them. They don't like anything about them. And see, that's why we have different categories in different games.
Yeah.
We have.
If you don't like it, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, there are multiple different categories, and usually any percent glitchless is one, which you would probably, or 100%, depending. But there are also, like JP said, there's all sorts of different categories, and probably the most hilarious one I recently found out, thanks to Stall Balls, by the way, for showing this. Baldur's Gate 3 has 6%.
Yeah.
So that's a speedrun category, apparently.
I can also tell you a funny one. Do you know Crusader Kings 3?
Yes.
What would you say if I told you that there's a meme category that is, I think, like 1 minute and 10 seconds world record at the moment?
What do you do in it?
It's called inbred percent.
Okay, so
I think like what you want to do is you have to get your player character to be an inbred child.
okay.
So you basically, I mean, you have to ask Kodo for better details, but I think you just basically create an old character with a family in a certain country that allows for marriage in the same family, and create a lot of brothers and sisters and whatnot, and then you die, and they create babies, and you hope one of them gets the inbred trait, and if the one gets them and you get to play as them, you win.
So that there's RNG factor in that category.
Yes, it's nothing but RNG, pretty much. But I say, look at it. It takes a minute of your life, but you see something beautiful.
That is absolutely gorgeous, man. I need to run some meme categories at some point when there's.
Also, I'm sorry if I got it completely wrong, so don't hang me, Kodo.
Well, even if you did, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah. There are a lot of different categories, so even if you don't want to spend an hour or something or learning something that takes an hour to do, you could learn something that takes a couple of minutes and just do it.
Yeah, just
have fun for a little bit. You don't have to. Yeah.
There's different speedrunners, so some actually might consider these as their main category as well. Because we have plenty of speedrunners who just likes to have fun, and they don't necessarily lean towards the competitive side of speedrunning, which is something that I usually want to do myself. I'm not stressed about. I used to be very stressed about, I need to get my new PBs. I need to get myself my times better. I wasn't really looking at anyone else on the leaderboards. I was just seeing my own position on leaderboards, and that has changed over the years. Like these days, I don't really care about anything Like I don't even submit my runs anywhere basically anymore. So leaderboards have been kind of non-existent for me for the longest time. But I still like to check my position or where would I be compared to others, just so there's at least one or a little bit of competitive edge in the speedrunning.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I think I would probably lose interest of running in general if there wouldn't be any kind of a competitive nature. Yeah.
Didn't you do like Counter Strikes and whatnot? Like I think you have that competitive thing going for you.
Yeah, I used to do a lot of like really serious grinding when it comes to FPS games as well. But But what about yourself? Are you a competitive speedrunner?
Not necessarily. I feel more about the fact that if I can showcase something, then that's where I find my biggest interest in. I do submit all my runs to the leaderboard, but that's more for where I can just go to the like SRC or whatever, check on the show obsolete runs, so it shows your old runs as well, not just the current PB, and I can see that and look at it as like a journey through learning and running the game and be like, yeah, this improved this much and this was what I did. I mean, I just feel the satisfaction of improving something by quite a lot. So the improvement part is so big to me. It's more about competing, like you said, like competing against yourself idea. So I wouldn't say it's too important to me to have like competitive with someone else. It can definitely make some interesting things, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've run too many games where I've had that someone else who's competing with me at the same time as I am running the game, and then we had that back and forth. It would be fun to sometimes find a game like that. But I usually just go for the disaster where there was 2 runners before me,
Right.
or I went for the X-Men Origins Wolverine where I was the other runner.
Oh my god, what a great speedrun right there.
That was like funny because the other one who did any percent did it glitchless. There wasn't a separation between glitchless and any percent.
Yeah.
And then I just looked at the new game Plus Run, which did glitches, and I just did any percent version of it.
Wow.
I had to learn one thing, like where to get one skill that is required for infinite height, and there we go. It was very close in the beginning, so I had to play the game for like 3 minutes properly, and then I could just start flying. And I did run that game 3 times, and I never touched it since.
Oh, great speed game right there.
Yeah. It was an experience. It wasn't a good speed. Okay, I'm gonna say it outright. It wasn't a very good speed game. It was. The New Game Plus category probably could have been a lot more fun, but
Yeah.
And actually, that game was fun when I bought it. I think I bought it for like €1 or something. Used, but I mean, it doesn't matter. It was a good game for 8 hours runtime or whatever it was.
Yeah, well, casually it was good at least.
Yeah, and the speedrun was Gambit.
So, indeed, Gambit. so, since we have a lot of these categories, we have leaderboards and whatnot. How I don't know. You seem to play a lot of games, so you have probably seen a lot of different communities. Speedrunning in general is obviously one community, but then it splits into different games, and all of these games have different communities. Have you ever experienced any kind of toxicity? Exactly. Toxic behavior.
Toxicity, yes. Well, a little bit. I never like directly at me, but I've seen like where the surrounding has been very poisonous gas, and I've been like, I probably should leave. That has happened for sure, but mostly it's like fine. Mostly people are either fine or luckily that is the case. Like mostly it's fine.
Yeah. I've had the same experience as well.
Yeah, sadly.
Every community has had like one turd.
And that's the thing also. It's sometimes like the whole community feels like that the general air about it is just not It's either it's probably could be one of those where I also just feel that I don't belong, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably just going a little bit further than that, but also, yeah, like you said, 1/3 is enough to pollute the air, which, well, like you said, there have been some, and there will be always.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, if there's one person that can actually ruin the entire community, it only takes one. But in most of these places I've been, all these gaming communities, speedrun communities, there's been like maybe one, maybe two, but they have been dealt with pretty in a very mature way, because I usually I'm in a retro community, so people are old, and people usually handle things maturely, and that's as far as I think they can go. Um, there was one moment when I said this many times before, but when I wanted to go out there and play a game that was completely out of my comfort zone, like Dark Souls Remaster, like why would I play something like that? I love Souls games. I'm huge fan of them, and I was like, I need to play at least one of them. Let's do Dark Souls Remaster, because I can't deal with 30 FPS original. So let's go with that. Learn the run. And when I went into the Discord, lots of memes, lots of emotes, people just having fun. I was like, oh my god, I went into some super young community. And in most cases, when you think about it, Souls games do attract a lot of young people. So I was like, oh, this is probably not my thing. I'm just probably going to get some trolls in my channel for even trying to do this. But for my surprise, Dark Souls community is super helpful. They're so amazing. All the top guys, top speedrunners as well, comes just immediately joins your stream, helps you out, just wants to explain all the strats if you don't understand them, helps you out if you need him. Like that's the best part of being part of a community, a helpful community for that matter, just to encourage new runners to learn something. If I would personally want to encourage new people to speedrun, don't care about leaderboards. Just play against your own times. And then, like I do it myself, maybe just compare your time against others before you start submitting. Unless you're super competitive and want to just go straight into leaderboards. But I usually encourage people to take it slow and learn things at your own pace. But is there any kind of a way that you would encourage people to start speedrunning or speedrunning the games you're currently playing? Like, is there any kind of a JP magic that you want to share with other people?
JP magic? No, not really. Just generally say pick a game you enjoy and you wouldn't mind resetting. That's the basic trick everyone says. But yeah, there's a reason people say that, because that's what speedrunning is. And about times and leaderboards and stuff, that's something where I think you just need to listen to your own head. And if you know you're competitive and you want that edge to happen, then follow that. Like, maybe compare, then do it whatever makes you tick with that. If it gives you the boost to learn in a healthy way, of course, then
yeah,
use that as an advantage to keep on doing it. And if you're if you feel like you could get very stressed out because of the leaderboards and such, then don't. Just do it for fun. Do it for yourself and see where it goes. And maybe after a little bit of time, you see that you're doing pretty good, and maybe you learn or not to handle a little bit of stress, or you could just be like, oh, I want to submit this now, and be fine with it.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
This is a hobby still for most of us. So as long as it doesn't hurt you, then I think you just shouldn't hurt yourself, whether it's mentally or physically, because physically is also possible. With a lot of mashing games or weird controllers and whatnot, you can hurt yourself.
Yeah, even playing retro games, you could just completely destroy your wrist, for example. Yeah. It's not that hard, actually.
Yeah, so just do it in a healthy way, mentally and physically, and listen to yourself. Use what advantage you can and have fun, pretty much. And if you enjoy, keep on going. And if you don't enjoy, then you can stop. There's nothing that keeps or forcing you to do things. You can just be like, I'm done. I'm not enjoying this. So,
and that's a good point as well. If you're learning a game, don't put yourself some ridiculous goal at first. Like world record is my goal. That's just going to burn you out instantly.
I mean, it's always that it feels amazing if you're like, if I had the world record, I would be the biggest boss around. But definitely don't pick up a game like Mega Man and be like, I'm gonna get the world record. No. if you're gonna go with that attitude, pick something that doesn't have any runners at least.
Yeah, games like Mega Man games are so fully, especially classic games, they're becoming so optimized that if you have the mentality that you want this world record, then you better be prepared for a couple of years of grinding, and I mean like 2, 3, 4, 5 years before you even get close to those times. So
and generally starting out, that will probably destroy the mentality on most. I know I wouldn't have kept on going if I was like, I'm gonna pick Mega Man 5 and get the world record. And I would have played like 2 days and been like, screw it. I'm gonna go back to playing Disaster casually.
That's really bad for your mental health as well if you approach a game like that.
It's probably same with a lot of other sports and hobbies and whatnot. So I don't think you need to distinguish this that much from the rest when it comes to the basic gist of how to get into or how to how to try it out, you could say.
True. Well, here's a question that everyone wants to hear from you, JP. If you could speedrun only one game, and one game alone, out of all the games you've ever played, now what would that be and why?
Out of all the games I have ever played, you say.
Yeah.
So
only one game.
It doesn't have to be a game I've ran before, so it could be
anything. What would
be stupid here?
Spurdo 24/7.
No. we don't talk about Spurdo. That's a story that you have to find for yourself and play that because I bought it for you.
Yes, he did. Someday we will talk about that as well. It's not today's topic though.
And now it's been recorded, so amazing.
Yep. Damn it.
Damn it. That's I'm gonna come up with what would be.
That's a tough question.
That's a tough question because I have played quite some games, so the angle if I could only run it like for the rest of my life, I'll just play it.
Well, I mean, let's say a couple of years at least.
I have to run it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm going to help you out a little bit here. Probably not going to help you out, but either way, if I would pick one game, it would have to be a really long game, so I could do long streams and just the reset mentality is in my head all the time. Like if I play a 30-minute game, I reset so heavily that I get sometimes burned out of it. So I would probably learn some long RPG that's like 8 hours. That would probably help my mentality or approach for this entire question here.
Yeah. So you would pick Final Fantasy VIII?
Yeah, for example.
Yeah, I could go if I go. I could probably go with a long ass game mentality, and that would probably make it. Well, to be honest, I've actually been thinking of it already, but I probably won't be running it for 2 years. But like a Monster Hunter game.
Oh, really? Which one?
The 3 Ultimate, because that's the first one I played, and that's a game I kind of want to run already. So I would probably pick that now. When you think about it, I think it's like 3 hours. At least the runs on the board are that long. I don't know how grinded they are.
Explain how that would work. Like you go through the main game, I guess, the quests.
Yeah, there's like you have played Monster Hunter, so there's there are the main quests, and then there's the ranks. And when you do like the urgent quest of rank 2, you get to do rank 2 quests, or like I don't remember if it's like urgent quest on rank 1 to. And if you complete that, then you are allowed to do rank 2. But anyway, do urgent quests and you like earn higher rank quests.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think the 3 Ultimate has like the low rank goal of you have to do like the first 5 ranks, and then you have to beat Seiyadeus, which is this water monster.
Yeah.
And once you beat that, it rolls credits. So I think that's like the category I would do. Or because I think the high rank requires you to have like G rank, which is like higher than high. And you don't get to do G rank quests in a single player game. In the single player story, you have to go to the multiplayer story to get those, if I remember correctly. But I think the high rank of G rank was added in Ultimate. Because the 3 was originally on Wii, and then Ultimate was on 3DS and Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
So I would grab out my Wii U and play that. And I will probably play until Seiyadeus, so the first 5 ranks. And I will try to do it at some point, because I don't know, I just feel like I want to do it.
That's a really interesting question. I would want to see those runs as well. I obviously have the Wii original version of it, and I love it.
Before.
It obviously, speedrun sense, I wouldn't love the underwater sections, but once again, movement is important to me, but not for JP. So
yeah, in the same fashion, the movement is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if there's no movement in it, okay, how do you speedrun it? Disaster.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's a pretty cool response.
Yeah.
For that question. Nice.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see it someday come to fruition. But the problem with that long games is that, like discussed earlier, that I have 8 to 4 work. Coming up with the runs during weekdays is pretty much no.
Yeah.
Because I get home, I have to make food and do whatnot, maybe see a friend or two, and then 3 hours is long. I have to be at bed because even though I'm young, I'm getting older. But like weekends would be the only time I could do runs unless I have nothing else for the day, or I have a free day off from work, or I took up one.
There was very deep thoughts by JP over there. Even though I'm young, I'm getting old.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, you're working, so you don't really have a lot of time to practice games. But that's still so insane that you have so many games that you learn to speedrun. Personally, it takes so much time for me to learn a speedrun. And you just run.
I just run. Yeah, sometimes you couldn't probably call it running. I don't learn some games that well, but hey, there are still some times in there.
Yeah.
There's still something. And I'm not like... You used to grind a lot, I remember. I haven't seen you being that grindy either, but I don't think I've ever been very grindy with my speed games. Like, starting off, I might have spent a few months on a game, and that's it. I did, like, a couple of streams a week, probably.
Yeah.
Like, and that was, like, the extent of my grind on anything. Probably the biggest ones were Mighty Number 9, of course, and then Yakuza Kiwami. I did Nioh 2 for a pretty long time, but that was a game that's so freaking difficult.
Yeah.
It took... I never learned it still. I played it for a long time, but I never got very confident with it. Plus, the game is full of... it's like one of those games where there is a script that you want the game to do, like the bosses. You want them to do certain attacks and certain movements, but there is the huge chance they usually don't, and then you have to improvise. And I never got very good with improvising if things went south, and they usually did, because it is like... For me, it was like 2-hour-long runs, and there are 20 bosses or whatever. So, yeah, there was plenty of chances of the game to go south, and if it did, I was usually dead.
Well, Souls-like games tend to be like that. You know, you have to have a backup plan for everything.
Yeah,
all the moves the bosses does and everything. It's just it's just constant adaptation for the bosses and enemies. So that's a cool speedrun as well.
Yeah, unless you had that, like a couple of bosses where, like, if they decide they hyper armor your attack and they do 3 swings, you die, and like you can, well, there's nothing you can do. It's just I had like the best. I think it was I don't Game Over Cancer or Pixels for People run of that game. I think I did it for both.
Mm-hmm.
So one of those had where one of the bird bosses just did like, after I went for it, I tried to attack it. It dodged backwards, flew in the air, grabbed me and killed me instantly. The fight lasted like 3 seconds. It's like,
wow.
You go in, you do one attack, and you die. It's like, oh.
How unfortunate for the speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also like one of the best memories was from GOC probably with Neo 2 as well, where I went on a boss fight and I failed it completely, but I managed to come out on top after 2 minutes of flailing and shouting and my commentator being like, this isn't going well. Trying to explain and I'm like, ah.
Oh, but best kind of marathon runs right there.
Yeah, that was like
right.
That's the moments I'm most proud of from like entire marathon career I've had. That's the Neo fight. I don't remember the name, but the boss was like supposed to be your evil twin or whatever. And yeah, you're supposed to wail a little bit, then turn on into your super mode and beat the boss to death. Yeah. The boss also has a super mode he can use for themselves, and if they get to do that, you're screwed usually. And you're supposed to end the fight before they get to that part. So when they hit like a certain threshold of the health part, they get more likely to use it. And I hit one hit too many before I popped my own super mode, and it did itself, and it's like, oh no. And it's one of the bosses that you have to do a 2-minute walk to get if you want to try again. And a marathon setting, losing 2 minutes to a death is kind of not good. And also, if you use your super mode and you die, you have to charge it again. So I would have had to Alt F4 out of the game before the game saves my death, then open the game again, and then do the 2-minute run back. So it would have been like 4 minutes with the game loading all the intros and such.
Yeah.
So I think there's a clip of it. If you've seen it, you can hear from like how I reacted after hitting the final blow that I was so relieved that I got it.
Yeah. Oh man, speedrun marathons are always always like that.
Yeah, that's also one thing that at least if you're not gonna end on playing one, you should probably attempt one, or at least watch one on Twitch. Because those are very nice way to learn of different runs. And that's how I've learned of multiple runs then I want to do myself at some point as well.
Yeah. Well, do you actually enjoy doing speedrun charity marathons? And
yeah.
How do they feel like compared to normal speedrunning?
They are... I mean, charitable or not, I do enjoy the marathon setting because... it feels a little bit because I have some blood in me because my parents are both actors in like theater and such. They do it like as a hobby. I have that little bit passion for performance, so it feels like a performance, you could say. That you're there, you're telling what you're doing, and you're doing something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, you could say. Yeah. You don't normally play games like that. Let's just put it that way. So I get that that's kind of a little bit of excitement that makes me feel like this is a completely different setting and this is what I enjoy. This is like, it's like one of the favorite speedrunning moments are the marathons, just purely because of the excitement of it being a performance. Mm-hmm. And you don't, and you have to keep it like, you have to keep calm and try to prosper, even though you're noticing you're doing these silly little mistakes. No one else gonna ever notice those, unless they know the game, and usually people don't. Yeah. So even if you do like, oops, I dashed a little bit, you don't have to worry about that. In the marathon setting, you're not going for the PB, you're going for the performance, and you're going for the entertainment value.
Yeah, it's a showcase, so, always.
It's a showcase, so little things don't matter as much, even though it's also a challenge sometimes to keep yourself from showing some frustration when you mess up a little, but yeah. But generally, it's completely different setting to me, and I enjoy it a lot more than the basic speedrunning setting, but its basic speedrunning setting is also, it can be kind of calming and because you have to concentrate. It's same for me with when I played drums for a little bit, that you have to concentrate on what you're doing. So if you're having like a little bit of a bad day or whatever, you can just put on a game and speedrun it, and you just have to concentrate on that. Put on a stream up, and you can chat with some fun people as well. So
yeah, see, good points. Obviously, the speedrun marathon setting is completely different mentality as well, because you can't reset. Like I mentioned before, I'm really heavy on reset myself. So when
it's a meme on your channel as well.
Yeah. When I can't reset, it's going to be slightly more stressful situation. I also enjoy showcasing runs. I also enjoy performing, just like you do. But the mentality is so different. I get nervous just because I have to show a game, at least at the beginning. But then I think you actually you noticed this from my speedrun showcases before. It needs a little time before things get more calm and collective. And then when it reaches that point, everything is just, or should go well. But like you said, if there's one mistake, another mistake, 3 mistakes, which only you notice, like, oh, I forgot to dash or forgot to press a button here, just don't mention about it. Just keep running the game normally and play the game. Ignore like that never happened before and just keep going. I've seen so many people doing these speedrun marathons. They mention about all of these mistakes. Oh, I should have been there. Man, I feel so bad of just showing that I made a mistake. Just don't say that. I swear, if there's like one person in the chat or a person who watches this run right now and actually realize that you made a mistake, then good for them. But I guarantee you, 99% of the people has no idea that you just made a mistake, unless you just die somewhere and it's so obvious that you made a mistake. Even still, it's fine. It happens. It's obviously, like I said, only one attempt, no reset. You do your thing, do your best, commentate as much as you want, or like me, just ask someone else to do it for you.
Same.
Easier. But yeah, the mentality is so much different in those, and I really like them. Do you actually get inspired by other speedrunners who does this kind of events? Like, have you ever been inspired by watching one? We're talking about GDQs and all these different events.
It doesn't really matter. Like, any marathons, probably. I've been, like, locally on Finruns, the Finnish marathon that is held, like, twice a year. It has plenty of cool runs, and for me as a Finn, it's a very, very nice thing to see that Finland has so much to offer on so many different types of games. It ain't just one type of game, it's multiple, and there are a lot of runners, and they're very good at it, and they make and come and show the games, and it shows wonderfully, and they come, like, I'm enjoying watching a lot of them, and I enjoy that these usually have VODs on them, so I can just peruse them after the marathons if I can't be like on site during the time, or just want to watch it as a refresher. So I would say many a time, almost every time I watch someone do a speedrun at a marathon, I'm a little bit like I dip my hat a little bit, my imaginary hat. Also, if there's also the fact that, like, doing your own commentary, like you mentioned, that if you're doing your own commentary, the beginning is definitely gonna be something that's gonna be a little bit rusty and feel like now your nerves are a little bit hitting there. But once you get into flow and do the game a little bit, it smooths out, and that's like something I have definitely every time, even though I'm pretty used to doing marathons. But I also tip my hat to those who do their own commentary. It's completely different experience to play through the game speedrunning while explaining or trying your best to explain everything that's going on.
Yeah, that's the skill.
And not trying to not leave too many things out what's going on. and like trying to keep it up so everyone could understand, because you're not just explaining this to someone who knows the run, you're explaining it to a person who might not know what speedrun is at worst.
I also have to add to the fact that like me and JP both, we're obviously speaking Finnish, our native language, so speaking English by yourself, playing a game, doing commentary, like it adds another layer of difficulty into the whole thing. So there's, and I know plenty of foreign people who does this by themselves. So even more respect for those guys who actually translates constantly their own language into English while playing the game.
Yeah, but that also I want to add that even if you're not doing it alone, or you're not doing any of your commentary, you're still doing great.
Yeah.
And also sometimes it's just having that someone else to do the talking with during the run. It can make it like a different kind of a performance. It can make it different kind of entertaining. So also kind of planning up how you're gonna do your run at the marathon can be fun. Mm-hmm. Where I don't enjoy doing routing, I do enjoy thinking about, should I have like someone here to commentate with me, co-commentate. It makes for a different feel, and it definitely, with some games you want to have someone to commentate. Like last Finruns I did Yakuza 0, which is like a 3.5 hour game for me. Yeah. I am so glad I had Voddo there, another Finnish speedrunner there, to help me with the commentary, and they did a phenomenal job. And I think it was 10 times more enjoyable because they were there instead of me being alone.
Yeah.
I with Yakuza, I think my way of commentating is telling the story, because there's not necessarily a lot of glitches and such. But for 3 hours, it's a bit long, so I would have probably run out of something to talk. I would have been talking some Lake Titicaca's or whatnot.
Yeah, as long as it's not scripted or anything, it has to sound natural as well. Like if you're reading some script, then that's probably the most boring kind of commentary you can probably pull off.
Yeah, this is not theater. Like theater has a script for a reason, but this is more like a stand-up performance in a sense that you're supposed to. Yeah, it's supposed to come off as a little bit more natural, like you said. So.
What are your go-to marathons right now? Like, are there any marathons you're going to participate soon?
There are some. At least like Game Over Cancer is coming up.
Yep, that's one.
And that's at least one. There might be some others, but I'm not gonna be talking of those just yet.
Is that one that you usually participate in?
A GOC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Any other ones?
I think I've done GOC like 3 times or 4 times.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I've done Pixels for People every time. I think it's 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. Any of these big events, GDQ?
I've been one ESA, so that's about it. I've done like 6 speedruns. I think 6 or... Hey, wait a minute, 22.
That's
6 or 7 Finruns. So
yeah, so
I think 6.
A lot of experience, to say the least.
Yeah, and then a lot of different smaller online ones. And I've not always been the runner. I've been a commentator for some Mighty No. 9 runs, and I've been color commentating for some Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky run for Manix.
Which, once again, is not easy. Commentating is a skill just like playing the game.
Yeah, but that was color commentating, so I was just being there saying I've played through the games and I've enjoyed them, but I had nothing to add like to the game. I think I was telling lies about ice cream there.
That's sometimes what a runner needs, someone else to talk. There is a host, obviously, but you don't want them to be the one that you're constantly talking to. So, having a commentator is important even if they don't know about the game. But, that's just one thing you can enhance the experience.
Yeah. Have you done, like, commentating? I know you've done your share of GDQs and whatnot, but have you done any solely commentating?
I've tried to do one Mega Man 11 for Megamar once in I think it was GOC as well, and that was just too fast paced. Even for commentary wise, I couldn't follow it up. Just
Yeah.
playing alone the 11 is just so fast paced, but even trying to explain it feels the same.
11 is like a freaking dance. When it flows, it's just beautiful. But it's also so fluid and fast. Like, yeah, you can't explain everything like from ground up. You'd have to have some knowledge, and so you could explain a little bit less to make it easier to commentate.
Easier, yeah, that is true. Well, we are almost approaching the end of this interview session. So, JP, just time for self-promotion. Where can people find you? Social media sites, stream, YouTube, etc. Stage is yours. Just promote away. Go ahead.
I am not very good at promoting, but
Do
we
it.
have Discord. I think I have the same name, jphpue or jphpue. Twitch, same name. Blue Sky, I think, same name. And that's pretty much it. YouTube, I think I have the same name, and I have all my PBs there. I don't do any other posting, so it's just PBs pretty much. So yeah, and currently I am preparing for another East Marathon, so I've done 2 out of 11 games of derusting, and I'm currently on the 3rd one, that being East 5, the Super Famicom one, which we discussed in this episode. So that's going on, and I'm probably gonna be moving to the next game next week, depending on how I end up with my East 5 runs in the coming weekend. So there's that coming up. It's probably in the spring, probably before summer, because I am not good with heat.
Haha, and I am.
Yes.
Winter be gone.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We're going to have a huge East Marathon with JP coming up this year. Obviously, like I said, I've been playing 1 through 11 many times before, so that's 12 games, which takes 7+ hours. So how long do you think this will take?
In my Excel, I think my sum of combined PBs is like 15 hours right now.
Oh my God.
But that's just the games. That's none of the breaks, because it takes so long. Like last time, it was like only 14 hours. So I prepared food.
Yeah.
I prepared a drink, like bottles of water and such, so I could just quickly swap them in or microwave some food and snacks like bread and fruits and such. Like those, when I swap games, there are some games where I just turn the game on and go grab something to eat, because going for that long without any eating, drinking, or standing up, that would be very bad for you. So I'd say a full 16 hours is probably where we're gonna end up with.
Okay, that's a long time, but yeah, I know your condition as well, so you kind of have to be careful. Just taking breaks and everything. So just keep that in mind. Doing such long sessions.
I will definitely, and that's why I am very bent on preparing well and trying to choose a weekend when I am not too tired, or I at least don't have any other plans for it, because the next day is gonna be, I'm probably gonna be a bit broken, not gonna lie, because it's gonna be very tiring either way, and it's
For sure.
Very nappy day. I'm probably gonna take a lot of naps, and
As long as it doesn't happen in the middle of the stream.
I know, but I mean the next day. Day,
right.
it's after, like Saturday, I'm done with the game, and Sunday I'm just gonna be. I might buy me a little snack and take naps and be like, I've done my share of gaming for this weekend.
For sure. All right, we're at the end of this podcast. But just before we leave, I'm going to make JP to do a game with me. Well, not with me. He's going to do it by himself, because I'm a bastard like that. All right. So, you know me as a Mega Man runner. I run a lot of Mega Man games. Tons of them. So, obviously you know what Mega Man games are all about, so you can play this game as well. So, out of the blue, I'll give you some time to give me 5 robot master names. Or Mavericks, if you prefer, the X games. Just something you want to see in the future Mega Man games. Whether it's an official title by Capcom, it's a ROM hack or a fan game. Doesn't matter which. It's a Mega Man game all the same. Just give me 5 names. But also include, or try to include, a weapon for each of these robot masters. And how would the weapon function? How would the weapon function in the first place? What would it do? So take your sweet time, but give me 5 robot master names and their weapons. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, start off, I'm gonna have to pick Gravity Man because Mega Man 5 is awesome, and I think his weapon is pretty good the way it is. Other than I think it should flip the bosses around, just because why not? That would be stupid. And with regular enemies it would work the same. It would flip them up and remove them from the field. But even with bosses, I think they should just be risen to the roof and they should do their attacks on roof. Other one, I think I would like to see Woodman, just because I like his stage theme. Woodman's weapon is the leaf shield, but I think I would love to see the Woodman weapon turn into Mega Man into a log of wood and roll around like a movement deck. I don't know why, but that sounds like...
Okay, let's paddle here a bit. Like, out of your mind, completely new robot masters, which we would see in the future Mega Man games.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I could pick up 5.
But those weapons were really awesome.
Oh my god, the new ones I wasn't prepared. I had 5 like one old games prepared.
Like completely new, just out of your minds. Go ahead.
Now this got increasingly more difficult.
Yeah, just look at your table. What's the first thing you see, and then add a man to it.
If I would say Pepsi Man then.
Pepsi Man. And what would he do? What was the weapon?
He would shoot a can of Pepsi out of his arm. I mean, he would throw it. Oh no, he would throw it, but you could charge it. And if you charge it, he would drop like the vending machine full of Pepsi.
Oh my god!
I don't know if you ever played the Pepsi Man game, but that's a video game. Yes, Pepsi for TV game.
All right, so Pepsi Man is the first. What is the second one?
Oh, I have to start all over. Oh god, dang it!
That's the beauty of this.
Screwdriver Man, because Drill Man wasn't enough.
All right, what does a screwdriver man do?
It would be like a melee thing. Mega Man would just lift his fist and start screwing. And if you charge it, he would shoot like a screwdriver. And...
Oh, you could unlock some secrets with that weapon as well.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
you could
awesome.
go with that.
All right,
so,
let's go with
the third one. Virtual reality man.
Okay. And the weapon.
He could. With that weapon, you could pick up weaker enemies in front of you, like little bit in front of you, like a couple of Mega Man's lengths in front of you, and you could just wave them around. You could use them as weapons, like you could pick one up and then you could lift it up to block a bullet or hit another flying enemy above you. And with charge, I don't know how that would work. That would probably be like you would grab everything near you and do whatever.
2 more to go.
God, this is difficult.
We can have one.
Crunch Man. I don't know. I think a bag of chips.
What? Crunch Man?
Crunch Man, yeah.
Okay. And the weapon?
The basic attack just makes like a lot of... Like, you know when in Mario you break a block and it just leaves a lot of debris flying everywhere?
Yeah.
It would be the same. You would just lift your arm and crunch a bag of chips in your hand or eat chips or whatever, and it would deal damage in front and back of you. But it would be like clusters, so they would be random. You would have to
You're giving all the
Yes.
ideas to Capcom right now. Okay, number 5.
There's no judge for chips. Let's go with that. It's a bigger cluster then.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Isn't that 5th already?
Oh, 5th. I've lost count.
Let's call it 5th.
Let's call it 5th. This is I'm doing so good.
Yep.
I was about to say Pump Man because I saw my pump, but no, that's already done. So
Insulin Man.
Insulin Man. I'm gonna do one just for you, and it's called Hedgehog Man.
Oh. That's a good one.
There's a good one, and it would be too easy to say that you can shoot just spikes like Spike Man or Needle Man in 3, but what you're doing, you're shooting rolling hedgehogs with your basic shot. So they work a little bit like Surge Snake, but they roll around and they jump with you. So if you jump, they jump as well. And if you charge them, it shoots a bigger one and it shoots them back behind you and ahead of you.
Wow. This improvising is absolutely spectacular. Good job.
Thank you.
I would have probably just Hedgehog Man, and you probably gain the ability to roll forward faster. I don't know.
Well, I'm still happy with my Log Man, though. That was my movement ability.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's amazing. I probably... Let's see what this podcast will end up having out of all those suggestions right there. But that was amazing. Just shows your creative mind and thinking right there, JP. So good job. Well done.
Capcom, call me, please.
Don't give me them too many ideas. All
I
right.
mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say, like, if they have any of those in Mega Man 12 or any other Mega Man game, then I'm just gonna call them myself. Be like, that's my property,
My royalties, give me.
my royalty.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, JP, for participating this amazing first episode of Stagged Odds podcast. We've been planning to do this for a couple of months now, and even though these questions were very random and picked randomly, it seemed like you were able to answer all of them, even the last one, which was heavily made difficult just for you.
It was heavily stacked.
It was stacked odds against you.
Thank you for having me either way. So I wasn't preparing to be the first one, so hopefully there'll be plenty of more.
Had to start from a familiar face first, but yeah, go watch JP, go follow him. All these things you're probably going to have all these links under the video or podcast where I'm going to upload this current
Video of a podcast.
Video
Yeah.
podcast. But yeah, definitely go follow JP. He's a good guy. He screams a lot. And
I do. I laugh sometimes.
He loves to have good time, so screaming is completely acceptable in this term. But yeah, we are going to stop this episode right now, and hopefully the next episode we will have maybe another person, or I will do something solo, but we'll see. Either way, thank you, JP. Thank you, everyone who listened, and I will see you guys on episode 2. Take care.